tonight's is a Module 6, communicating with other hams. And, okay, Howard.
Well, okay.
The first thing to go over is band plans, which, and I recommend, there's one in your book, and you can order them from ARRL, but I do recommend everyone get them a copy of the band plan, and it will be coming up here in just a moment. But these are invaluable, and I have one down here that I use, but it tells you basically what your class of license and what bands and frequencies you can get on. Now, these are voluntary agreements. There's nothing etched in stone about this. So just a handshake agreement, and they're not regulations. Okay, Howard? Okay, amateur radio is the only service that can tune freely and use multiple modes within their allocations. Okay, go ahead, Howard. Go to the next slide, Howard.
Well, I have to step through the.
Okay, that's fine.
Are you going to read these?
Nah, go ahead.
Okay.
It'll be here. Okay. And this is the band plan for 2 meters. Basically what the techs you guys will be using right here. And it tells you what part of the frequencies are used. But again, this is not etched in stone. And you can see on 2 meters, it goes from 144 to 148. Now, most 2 meter radios go from 134 to 174. And in the 150s is the public service, police, fire, et cetera, that's not on a Viper or trunk system. Okay, Howard. HF band plans tend to be simpler than VHF UHF because they are no repeaters. So basically, HF is radio to radio, no repeaters. And there's 2 different types on 2 meter 440 UHF, VHF, and that is simplex and duplex. Simplex, again, radio to radio communications, and duplex is going through a repeater, but we'll go over that a little bit more in detail. Other common uses listed in band plans: beacons, which tells you, these are automated systems, transmissions that will tell you in a particular area if the band is open in that particular area or not. And as we discussed earlier with some of the others, sometimes a band can be open in one part and not be open in another part. And usually beacons are mostly for HF contacts. Weak signal modes that work better at lower signal strength, like Morse code, single sideband, and some digital modes. Every amateur band from 50 megahertz, 6 meters, on up through 160 has frequencies available for CW and sideband operations. And again, all that is located on your band plan. And we'll see that again in just a minute. Okay, satellite uplinks and downlinks. And yes, you can, a technician can work satellites, can work the space station, and with their class of license. And that's segments of bands where signals are sent from Earth to the satellite. So that'd be the uplink, from the satellite back down to Earth, which is the downlink. Okay, and like I mentioned, simplex, transmitting and receiving on the same frequency. In other words, radio to radio communications. And just remember, rule of thumb with VHF and UHF, it's line of sight. Now, certain areas, line of sight is greater than other areas, depending on terrain, where you're located, and also atmospheric or band conditions. And we'll be going over repeater inputs and outputs, and we will go over that very, very thoroughly here in just a little while, because that's something you will use every time you get on the radio with your license class. Okay, Howard? And control links, okay? Control links are remote links to your radio. Go back to, oh, go ahead, Howard. That's all right. Now, this is a band plan. This is what this looks like. And I do encourage you to make a copy of this or pick you one up from ARRL and have it close to your radio if you got a base station. I'm not saying carrying it in a mobile. Just have it too close to a base station, especially if you upgrade and get your general license and get on HF. This is what you will definitely need. Okay, Howard.
Randy,
Yes.
what is advanced and novice?
Okay. There used to be several classes of license. Novice was it was novice, tech, general, advanced, and extra. They have done away with novice and advanced. However, that being said, they are still ham radio operators out there with these classes of license. So they still have them, but they're normally not common anymore, let's say. It's just the three now: tech, general, and extra.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, Howard.
I did change it, and we're up to interpreting the band plan.
Yeah. Go to the next slide. That'll make it a little bit better. Okay. This is on 40 meters. Okay. This is just a section of the band plan. Go to the next one, Howard. Okay. Thank you. And you see these are color coded. The red is RIDI and data. The green is phone and image. The squiggly lines are Morse code or CW. The yellow is phone, single sideband phone, which is basically what the green is. And then the teal colored, again, you can phone, RIDI, and data, and fixed digital messages. But on this, basically, they got the squiggly lines from 7.025 to 7.125, which is Morse code. The red is RIDI and data, and the green is for phone and image. And G is general, A is advanced, and E is extra. So you can see general is 7.175 to 7,300. And then with extra and advanced, you get a little bit more frequencies within that band plan. Okay, Howard. And that's the license privileges right there, what Joe asked about. Okay, Howard.
And these particular things we're looking at are not voluntary. In other words, that is where you have to operate if you're in an extra or general or technician.
And again, all this is for when you get your general license and get on the HF frequencies. Okay, Howard. Okay, an extra may use the 40 meter band for phone or image from 7.1 to 7.3 megahertz. As you can see, when you get your extra on certain bands, you get a little bit more privileges. On certain bands, it's the same no matter what. Okay, making contacts on repeaters. Okay, before you transmit, be sure you are authorized to use that frequency and mode. In other words, make sure you stay within your license class. And with a tech, you know, that's 144 140.0 to 148.0. Okay. Typical repeater manners. Okay. Listen so that you are aware if someone's using the repeater, and all you got to do is just turn it on and listen for just maybe 15 seconds. You'll see if somebody's using it or not. Now, keep transmissions short. Well, that doesn't always work, guys, because you'll get these guys on these repeaters and you'll run into them. That's a little long-winded, and we'll talk for at least an hour on some of these. And, just shooting a bull basically is what it is. Now, when you get on the radio, I will want to warn you that ham radio is like the old telephone party lines. I'm sure some of you remember that. And I always assume that someone is listening, no matter what. Don't matter what band or frequency you get on, you can always rest assured someone is listening. So be careful what you say, no personal information or anything like that. Identify your station legally. In other words, your call sign. Okay. When you pass your test, you will be assigned a call sign by the FCC. You will be the only person with that call sign. It will be sort of like your ID, you might say. Okay, one thing the book doesn't say that I'm going to go into, there is a 10-minute rule. What this is by FCC rules, you're supposed to identify your station every 10 minutes. Okay. Does everybody do that? Well, of course not. They forget. I've forgotten. You get talking and just forget to do that. But there's several ways to do it. Okay. And one way is say, I'm talking to Howard on the radio. Okay. When I get through saying what I'm saying, I'll say W4PH KI4VLW. Well, I just identified my station, even though I said Howard's too, but identified mine. Howard can come back, KI4VLW, W4PH. Well, he just identified his. That's one way to do it right there. So you'll hear some hams say KI4VLW for ID, and things like that. There's different ways you can do it. And once you get on the radio, and I cannot emphasize this enough, and the rest of us won't either, once you get your license, get on the radio. That's where you're going to learn. Use it. Well, what am I going to say? Well, that's up to you. But, again, go to radio manners, but, talk about the weather, talk about your day, and just use the radio. Now, Benson. Okay, I'm going to pick on Benson tonight. Benson got his license, and Benson is getting on the radio, which I'm glad to hear and see that he's doing that, because you will learn more by getting on the radio. Okay. And just remember the 10-minute rule. Will you forget to do it? Yes. And while you're talking on the radio, will you make mistakes? Yes, you will. We all do. And every one of us, no matter how long we've been in ham radio, we started where you guys are sitting at right now. I've said this before, we started on the ground floor too. And do we still make mistakes? Well, of course we do. You just got to learn from them. But, it's okay to make mistakes, The only thing I say that you don't do is on ham radio, and several of them can agree to this, is use CB lingo like 10-4 or something like that. That'll get you yelled at quicker than anything on ham radio when you start talking CB. Believe me, I've heard that happen. Okay, easiest way to attract listeners. Give your call sign followed by monitoring, such as KI4VLW monitoring. Or you might hear just somebody give their call sign, KI4VLW. Okay. All right, Howard. Okay, responding to a station looking for a contact. And you do this too if you're calling someone. Again, say I'm calling Harry. I would give his call sign first, then mine. So if I was calling Harry, KC4EZN, KI4VLW. Now, if he doesn't answer, wait just a few seconds, about 6 or 7, then call him again. KC4EZN, KI4VLW. Now, if Harry answers, he'll come back to me, give him my call sign, KI4VLW, KC4EZN. Then we start, with our conversation. Perchance Harry doesn't answer me. Call him a couple of 3 times. I wouldn't do it no more than 3 times. So I call him the 3rd time, KC4EZN, KI4VLW. He still doesn't answer. Okay. So what I would do, I'd say KI4VLW clear. Well, that lets me know, or people know, that I didn't get Harry. Plus, I'm not using the frequency anymore. So if somebody else wants to get on there and use it, they can. Okay. All right, Howard. Okay, making contacts on repeaters continued. If you accidentally interrupt someone, and yes, you will do this sometimes, all you got to do is say, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, KI4VLW clear. That's it. That's it. Because sometimes people will be talking, but someone will be thinking of something to say, you might say, and you get on the radio and you don't hear nobody, so you start giving your call sign out. Then they come back, well, the frequency's in use or the repeater's in use. Or they may want to come back and talk with you. So, okay. What if you receive a report that your signal's audio is strong but distorted? Okay, there's several reasons for that, and especially if you're using a handheld, and this can happen on a base station or mobile. You're slightly off frequency. Okay, say you're wanting to be on, say, 146.910, and instead of being on 0, you're on 5 or 0, 0 or something like that. That will cause your signal to be distorted. Okay. Also, speaking too loudly into the microphone. Now, when you talk on the radio, okay, let me unplug the mic here a minute. When you talk on the radio, do not do this like you see on TV. You want to hold it roughly like this, speak in a normal tone. Now, some of us, including me, are a little hard of hearing, and I tend to speak loudly because I think that you're not hearing me. I don't have my hearing aids in because I got these on. But if I talk too loud, let me know. But anyway, when you speak into the radio, into the microphone, hold it to the side and speak in a normal voice, and hold it about 6 to 7, 8 inches away from your mouth. Not here, right about here. Okay, that's the way to do it. Okay, and speak in a normal tone, because if you speak too loud or your mic gain is up too loud, you will cause distortion and deviation into the repeater. Okay, transmitting from a bad location. Okay, on VHF and UHF, terrain affects your signal. In other words, especially during the summertime, leaves on the trees, say you're downtown, buildings, mountains, hills, whatever. Things like that will affect your signal, okay? And that will cause distortion also. And again, if you're using an HT, low batteries will cause the same problem. Now, this will be on your test, so on most of the tests, so make sure you really pay attention to that. Okay, repeaters often add a short courtesy beep to the retransmitted signal when the transmitting station signal disappears. In other words, you'll hear that. And that becomes over. Now, on 2 meters, some people, when they get through, still use over. It's acceptable. You can do that. It's fine. But you will hear a repeater send you a signal back, beep, okay? And, that's the over. Okay, Howard. Making contacts on simplex channels. Okay. Simplex channels are conveniently located between bands of repeater input and output channels, and you can do a Google search. 2 meter simplex channels, and let me see if I had it here. No, I don't have it with me, I don't think. But that will come up. And you can make a copy of that. It's often quite easy to make contacts directly without the use of a repeater, and it avoids occupying a repeater. Okay. All right. Say Mona wants to call Annie, and say Annie and Mona live 2 or 3 miles apart, then it's easy for them to get simplex. Okay, no problems. So what Mona might want to do is call Annie and say, let's go to simplex frequency such and such. Let's say 147.525. So y'all go over there and you carry on a conversation. You won't be tying up a repeater. Now that doesn't always work, because if you're further apart and you have to go through the repeater and you can't get simplex, remember, line of sight, okay? But if you can do it that way, that works great. Okay, many radios have a reverse split function that swaps transmit and receive frequencies. And you will hear this when I heard you on reverse. I can't hear you through the repeater, but I did hear you on reverse. It's the REV button on a radio. Okay. And sometimes, have to do that. Okay. This also will be on your test. The national simplex calling frequency on 2 meters is 146.520. On 70 centimeters, and you'll hear me refer that, remember, as the 440 band, the calling frequency is 446.000. Now, on this, okay, and the difference between megahertz and hertz, okay. This part is your megahertz. Can everybody see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mona, do you have me on a speaker, side by side speaker? Okay, you still can't see it? Okay. All right, well.
You're too little.
Okay. The 146.
Randy,
Yeah.
I can stop the share.
Okay.
Now they should see it.
Okay. The 146 is the megahertz part, and the 910 on this frequency is the hertz part. Okay, that's the difference right there. Okay. All right, Howard.
Okay.
You may have to do that again here in just a little bit.
All right, no worries.
Okay.
Randy,
Yeah.
let me correct you on that. You said it was the hertz part. It's actually the kilohertz part.
Yeah, kilohertz. I'm sorry. Did I say hertz? Yeah. I left off the K. Sorry about that. Thanks, Rick. Thanks, Rick. I had it right here. I just lost it between here and here.
Hey, Randy,
Yes.
what did you say about Googling 2 meter? Was that for the band, radio band?
Yeah. You can Google and get a list of these simplex frequencies on 2 meters, just Google ham radio 2-meter simplex frequencies, and you can print that off, and you can do it on 70 centimeter also, either one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Randy,
And yes,
are the simplex frequencies sort of nationally understood, or are they
Yes,
region by
yes.
region?
yes, national. All this is national, every bit
Okay.
of it.
Thank you.
One thing they do is, because repeaters receive and transmit on the same band, they have to be so far apart to work. And there are spaces in between the receive and transmit portions that are not handy to use for a repeater frequency. And that's generally where they end up putting the simplex. Like on 146, you are receiving frequencies above 150 megahertz, and 145, 500, and receive and transmitting below that. And there's 600 kilohertz apart, so there's a gap in there where most of your simplex frequencies fall. That makes any sense.
All right, here, Mona's what I was talking about. See that?
Hold on, I'll unshare.
Okay, here's the list of the simplex frequencies right here. Okay, and you can do that on Google and bring it up. I don't use it that often, but I do have it just in case. Okay, Howard. Oh, and I want to also add, you don't have to change it, Howard, but on the back of the band plan that you get is the worked off states maps, and it gives you the areas that call sign numbers are there. Now, say you live in the 4 section now, but say you got your license down in Texas and you have a 5 call sign. You don't have to change that when you move to the 4s. You can keep the same call sign. That doesn't matter. Okay. Okay. Next one, Howard.
I don't know what I've done. Let me check here.
Oh, that's all right. Okay. Making contacts, single sideband, CW, and digital. Starting contacts is different on these modes than on repeaters that use fixed channels. Call must be long enough to attract attention. So what you do on sideband, CW, and digital, now, I do not do CW. I do not do digital. You know, Howard, Harry, and a couple of them can help you with that. But on sideband, what I would do if I'm making a contact, I'd call CQ. CQ means anybody listening. Hello, anybody out there? And what you would do, and you hear some of them get a little too long-winded calling CQ. CQ, I do it 3 times. CQ, CQ, CQ. This is Kilo India 4, Victor Lima Whiskey, calling CQ. And see if somebody comes back to you. And on HF, you know, if you're on a frequency and band, just, you know, do it as long as you need to. Eventually someone will come back to you. Now, phonetics, while we're on the subject, okay? This is in your book too. I do encourage you to make a list, copy it, and make a list of the phonetics, a list of phonetics, okay? Now, these you will use quite often, okay? So you need a good list of the phonetics. And you will hear people say W, okay, whiskey, okay? They don't say whiskey, they'll say Washington or something like that. And you also will get law enforcement people who use their phonetics, such as M is Mike, they'll use Mary or something like that. So you hear some different ones from time to time. And some foreign stations, phonetics, will use countries. Like they would say, or states, they would say Alaska or something like that. But, you know, this is the ITU phonetic alphabet. This is the one you really need to learn. Okay. That's
And
what that is. And make a copy.
Sometimes after you used your phonetics 2 or 3 times and they haven't got it, it helps to change to something different.
Yeah, like I was talking to an Italian and on HF, and he couldn't understand whiskey. Okay, he just, for some reason, he just couldn't understand whiskey in my call. He kept asking me, what? So I changed it up and I said Washington. He understood that. So, you know, but, you know, yeah, sometimes you have to change it up. Okay, Howard. Again, done by calling CQ. CQ means hello, I'm calling any station. Okay. The station calling CQ sends or says CQ several times by calling their call sign in phonetics. Now, phonetics. When you check into some nets, they want you to use phonetics. Some do, some don't. And this is on 2 meters, okay? Or 440 or VHF, UHF nets. So that's when you would use it, and that helps them understand the call sign a little bit better. Like on mine, Victor Lima whiskey, because of my Southern accent, a lot of people think I'm saying Z instead of the. So that's why I have to say Victor Lima whiskey. And they say Zebra Lima whiskey or Zulu Lima whiskey. I say, no, Victor Lima whiskey. So sometimes you have to do that and check in that way. Some nets you just call in KI4VLW. Okay, before you call CQ, you should do 3 things. And this is just like in a repeater, 2 meters, whatever. Be sure the frequency is one of your license privileges authorized to use. And if you go up and get your general license, sometimes, will you ever transmit out of band, out of your license privilege? Yes, you will. I've done it a couple of times by accident. Heard somebody, distant foreign station, and wasn't paying attention. I jumped down there and made a contact with him. Then I realized what I'd done. I told him, I said, sorry, I'm out of band, sorry, you know, and cleared and went back. You know, no harm, no foul. Again, you will make mistakes. Don't worry about it. Just go on. It's okay. Okay, listen to be sure the frequency is not already in use. Again, on HF, on sideband. All right, and this has happened to me, well, all of us several times. You may have someone out in Montana talking to somebody in Arizona. I can't hear them on this side of the country. I don't know they're on the radio. I can't hear them. But I get on the radio and they can hear me, and I interfere with them. And a couple of times I've had other guys closer to me saying, KI4VLW, this is so-and-so, so-and-so. The frequency's in use. Some guys out there on the West Coast are using it. They can hear you. So I apologize and go somewhere else. So that will happen occasionally, but it will happen.
And quite often, you can hear only one side of their conversation.
Yeah.
And the other guy that's listening to him will step in and say frequencies in use.
Yeah, you can only hear one. And make a short transmission asking this for frequencies in use. And basically what you do, if you listen, don't hear nobody, KI4VLW is the frequency in use. And wait 5, 6, 7 seconds. If you don't hear nobody come back to you, go ahead and use it. It's okay. Okay, Howard. Responding to a station calling CQ, give the CQ station's call sign, then yours, using phonetics. Okay, say somebody's out there, W4PH, CQ, CQ, CQ. This is W4PH. Well, I would go back to W4PH or Whiskey 4, Papa Howard is what I would do with him. That's what he says. But anyway, KI4 or Kilo India 4, Victor Lima Whiskey. Okay, then, do it that way. Okay, again, phonetics. Q signals. Okay, that's in your book also. Q signals are a system of shorthand, basically, abbreviations for information developed from old telegraph codes. Now, there's roughly 25, 30. I use maybe 7 is all. The main ones is QRM, your transmission is being interfered with, QRN, or they may say QR Mary, QR Nancy, staticky. QRP means low power. QRZ, who's that? Who's wanting me? QSL. Now this one you use more than any of them. QSL means yes, I acknowledge. It's like Roger. Okay, Roger, I copy. Just QSL, I copy. Okay. A QSO, who you communicated with, and QSY means you're changing frequencies and bands. QTH is your location. That's the ones you'll use most of all. But again, do make a copy of these out of your book and post them next to your base station. They do come in handy. Believe me, folks, when I first got started in this, I had notes everywhere. Okay. All right, Howard. Although developed for use by Morse operation, they use common on phone and voice. Okay. And table 6.2 lists the most common Q signals. Again, that's the ones I copied here, as you can see, but make a copy of that and leave it close by. Because again, getting on the radio, this will eventually come to you. It's just repetition. But when I first started doing it, I was having to look, what's that? Once I got used to it, it'll come to you. So, okay. DXing and contesting. Okay. DX means distant stations. Now, most of this is for HF use. Now, there are some VHF, UHF contests also, but the majority of contesting is on HF. And DXing on VHF and UHF is beyond the horizon, okay? Beyond the 12-mile horizon or whatever. And depending on location and band conditions, your horizon may vary. Flat plains, you may get 20 miles, even further. Here in the mountains, roughly, not going through a repeater on simplex, again, depending, 5 to 15. But again, that's not HD. If you're on top of a mountain, you will get a lot further than down in a valley. Okay. Best done on single sideband or CW because of the efficiency of those modes. Okay. Radio contests are held with competitors trying to make as many short contacts as possible in a fixed period of time. Okay. Now, these are volunteer contests. You don't have to do these if you don't want to, okay? And they do give plaques, awards, certificates, and things like that. So it is a competition. And, and what's funny, especially on HL, you'll get on a weekday and nobody's on the radio. I mean, you rarely hear somebody. But come a weekend, and most contests are on the weekend, hams come out of the woodwork, let me tell you. They come out, especially for a contest. Okay, and during contesting, send only the minimum information needed to identify your station and complete the exchange. Okay, I made a contact with someone contesting. Okay, most of the time they will want the what they call the RST system, and I'll go over that in just a minute. Okay, signal report. This is KI4, well, Kilo India 4, Victor Lima Whiskey. And normally I give my name, Randy, North Carolina, you're 5'9". That's all they want. Now, when you're giving information like that on HL, the only thing you're required to do is give the state, and that's the only thing I would give out. On VHF, UHF, you give your city. Like if I was checking into the Greenville, South Carolina net, please check in KI, and we'll go through this again. Please check in KI4 VLW, Randy, and Asheville. And that's it. That's where you check in. Okay. All right. Now, signal reports. Okay. And I don't remember if this is up here or not, but I'll go through it anyway. On VHF, UHF, the signal reports, they'll say you're full quieting. That means you sound like you're in the same room with them. Okay. You might say you're like a little white noise with you. That's a little humming, a little popping, a little cracking. Scratchy, that means they're unable to copy. And we went through this before. Flutter or picket fencing, usually on a mobile. And what that means is you're riding, you're in the car riding, and your antenna on you, wherever you got it, is doing this, going back and forth, or you're going by trees under power lines, and when you're talking, they're hearing this word, that's flutter or picket fencing. Okay, and they'll tell you that. And another one is they may tell you you're breaking up. In other words, they can't understand you at all. Now, on HF, the RTS system is readability 1 through 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest, and S is signal strength, and that's 1 through 9, and T is for tone, which is on CW or Morse code. So if I told them, you know, you're 5.5 or 5.8, you know, good signal in, a little low, but I can understand you. You're perfectly readable. This is in your book, so you might want to, you know, need to study. Now, while we're on this, on VHF, UHF, if you don't need to use, say you got a 50-watt radio, if you don't need to use 50 watts, drop your power down. Use whatever is necessary. Now on HF, if you got a 100-watt radio, yes, you'll need the whole 100 watts. But local stuff, if you can get into a repeater at 5 watts and it's perfectly legible, readable, full quieting, use 5 watts. Don't use 50. Okay. And that could cause deviation in your signal, also using too much power. Okay, Howard. I know I'm skipping around, but this is stuff you need to know that's not in your book, and I do go over that. Okay, contesting info at ARRL.org. And again, it's completely voluntary. If you don't want to contest, you don't have to. Okay. But it's fun to do, believe me. I enjoy doing that. And just about every weekend, well, yeah, no, just every weekend there's a contest somewhere going on in the world. So, okay, Howard. Okay, field day. Field day is the biggie. It's in June, the 4th weekend in June. It runs for 24 hours from 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon until 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon. And I do encourage you, if there's a club close by, and join them for field day. You get a lot of experience that way, And basically what field day is just an exercise on emergency communications. You try to make as many contacts as possible in that 24-hour period of time. Okay. And again, it's fun to do, and it teaches you good communication skills. So, I would encourage all of you to find a club close by and do it, because let me see. I believe, let me check my calendar here, make sure I get the right date right. Okay, this year it'll be June 24th, 25th. That's when field day will be this year. Okay, Howard.
Randy,
Yes.
before you move on, I'd like to reinforce what you said very, very early on. When you turn the radio on, listen, 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 because if you listen around different nets, you will find out that each net has its own personality. When we call our information net on Monday night, I read the protocol that's on the website, and I don't say Whiskey 4 Mike Oscar Echo. I said call W4 MOE. If you listen to the net on Caesar's Head repeater, they invariably will use phonetics and then the call sign. And I've noticed when they're talking back and forth down there, they will repeat both call signs every time they do it. And that's just the personality of those people. And what my point there is listen. And when you're doing contesting, it's really important to listen, because the contest guy may be talking on one frequency and listening on another. And you need to find out what that is. Because if you start talking on the frequency that he's talking on, he may not be listening there. So that, again, just listen, listen, listen. And then I'll turn my mic off.
Okay, Harry. Okay, Howard. Okay, fox hunting. More fun things to do. And that's the good thing about ham radio. Okay, it gives you a lot of variables to do. Now, like I said, I'm not a Morse code guy. I'm not a digital guy. I'm a phone guy. I like talking to the people that I make contacts with. Okay. Now, granted, some of them are just there for the numbers, signal report, and move on, but occasionally you get one to chat. I used to have a friend of mine, never met him, but we were friends. Alistair lived in Gisborne, New Zealand. And we talk about twice a month. Okay. Never met each other, but we became friends. Unfortunately, he became a silent key, and you'll hear that. That means a silent key means it's a ham that has passed away. And I miss talking to my friend. But you will make friends in this hobby. It's like Howard, Steve, Harry, Rick. I never knew these people before. Bob, I never knew these people before I got into amateur radio. And we're all friends. Matter of fact, most of my friends are in amateur radio. That's, and you will make friends. And that's the positive side of it. You will make a lot of good friends. And my only regret is I didn't do this years ago like I wanted, due to work, being on call at the hospital, kids and myself being involved in sports. But once I retired, I jumped in it with both feet and haven't looked back. Okay, a different, more physical type of contest is known as fox hunting, which is chasing down a signal. Okay, Howard? It involves hiding and finding hidden transmitters. Now, unfortunately, I've never done this. I've been wanting to do it. One of the clubs, the road show, does this just about every weekend in the summer, but I haven't had a chance to go out there and do this. And one of these days I am gonna get out there and do this. Okay, and go ahead, Howard. Okay, it trains hams to find downed aircraft, lost hikers, and sources of interference or jamming. And you can actually fox hunt with a handheld. Okay, you can do that. And you can actually do it with a radio that's on there, but I don't have one yet, but a direction finding Yagi antenna. You can get started with a portable radio and a signal strength indicator and a handheld or portable directional antenna, which again called a Yagi. Okay. A similar event is radio detection finding, hybrid of fox hunt using orienting skills to navigate outdoors with map and a compass. And I don't think they do that often anymore, but I'm sure there's still somewhere is still doing this.
There's a
Okay.
there's an international contest for that about every year.
Where's it at, Howard?
Well, it depends on who's hosting it. It is international, and in that one of them is an 80-meter hidden transmitter, and they set people out like every 10 minutes. Somebody gets to start, and they have so much time to locate several different transmitters in the area and get back, and the one who does it in the quickest time is the winner. But this is something I have never participated in and don't know if they do it locally.
Yeah, I've never heard of anybody doing it locally.
I watched.
Because if they did, I'm sure it'd be on the airwaves. Yeah, go ahead, Harry. I'm
I
sorry.
watched a video, and I think this was in Japan. The two guys, and they're in running outfits, shorts and t-shirt with their antennas and a radio, and it was a foot race to see who won. I mean, they were running. I mean, it was a foot race at the end. It was that close. It was kind of funny. That not sure I wanted to do that, but and what's the game where you hide stuff and go out and look for it with clues? There used to be several around here, and I think they shut some of them down because they got so heavily trafficked. They were walking in some of the wilderness areas.
Treasure hunters.
Yeah, they were treasure hunters.
Yeah.
Oh. They use a GPS to locate things.
Yeah.
That's geocaching.
Geocaching.
Yeah, that's it. Yep. Okay, go ahead, Howard. Okay. Two primary means of exchanging pictures and video in real time: amateur television, ATV, on the UF bands, and fast color TV. We've already gone through this earlier with other people, but it's here again. Bands at 430 megahertz and higher, fast scan color television signals, NTSC, National Television System Committee. Remember that one, okay? That may be on your test. Slow scan television, SSTV, still sends signals. Now, on the slow scan TV, the big ones that does this quite a bit is the Russians, especially off the ISS space station. Okay, Howard. More info on amateur radio imaging at those websites. And this is probably in your book. Okay, go ahead. Practice questions. Okay, time for practice questions. All righty. Where may SSB phone be used in amateur bands above 50 megahertz? Okay. Anyone want to take a guess? It would be C, in some segments of all these bands. Okay, Howard. What is a band plan beyond the privileges established by the FCC? Okay, of course, it's a voluntary guideline using different modes or activities within an amateur band. Okay. What term describes an amateur station that is transmitting and receiving on the same frequency? Okay, that would be C, simplex. Remember, radio to radio communications. Okay, Howard. What is an appropriate way to call another station on a repeater if you know the other station's call sign? That would be B. Say the station's call sign, then identify with your call sign. Okay. Which of the following indicates a station is listening on a repeater and looking for a contact? Okay. Station's call sign followed by the word monitoring. And sometimes you'll hear somebody say, KI4VLW, listening. They don't use monitoring all the time, or looking for a contact or something like that. Okay, Howard. What might be the problem if you receive a report that your audio signal through an FM repeater is distorted or unintelligible? Okay, it would be D, everything, remember? Off frequency, low batteries, and bad location. Okay, Howard. What is the national calling frequency for FM simplex operations in the 2-meter band? And that would be A, 146.520. And I will encourage you to, whatever radios you have memory channels in there where you can put in repeaters, simplex frequencies, whatever in memory. I would encourage you to put in the calling frequencies on both, if it's a dual band, both 2-meter and 440. Okay. How is a VHF UHF transceiver reverse function used? Okay, to listen on the repeater's input frequency. Now, in just a few minutes, we're going to go over the difference between input and output. Okay, Howard. Why are simplex channels designated in the VHF UHF band plans? So stations with a range of each other can communicate without tying up a repeater. Okay. How should you respond to a station calling CQ? Transmit the other station's call sign followed by your call sign. What is the meaning of the procedural signal CQ? That is D, calling any station. What should you do before calling CQ? Okay, listen first to be sure no one else is using the frequency. Ask if the frequency is in use and make sure you are authorized to use that frequency. So it would be D. All these choices are correct. Which Q signals indicates you are receiving interference from other stations? QRM. Okay. Which Q signal indicates that you are changing frequency, which would be QSY. This KI4VLW, say I'm on a repeater, or even on HF. Say I'm on a repeater on 146.910, and I'm going to go to another repeater that's holding the net. So what I would do is say KI4VLW QSY to 146.610, and that'd be it. That's all you need to do. Okay, Howard. What operating activity involves contacting as many stations as possible during a specific period? Which? Contesting. Which of the following is a good procedure when contacting another station in a contest? Okay. Send only the minimum information needed for proper identification. Okay. What is a grid locator? Okay, now we have not gone over that. So we're about to do that. On certain contests, instead of using your QTH, which is location, such as North Carolina or wherever, certain contests uses grid maps. Okay, this is one of them. Okay, and what you do is find where you're at, such as where we're at here in Western North Carolina. We're at EM 85, and instead of giving North Carolina as your QTH, you would give EM 85 on this particular contest. But that's one of them. Okay, there's several. One is a CQDX zone. Again, for another contest, is here. I know it's hard to see this, but here in where we're located, we're in Zone 5. Mike up in Dayton, he'd be in Zone 4. So once you get some of these and find them, you know, you may want to and just have them just to have. Now, there's another one. This is the ITU zone map. ITU is International Amateur Radio Union. That's what that is. And here in Western North Carolina and certain areas, we're Zone 8. So that is that one there. Okay. So there's several of these that they use for contesting. Okay, Howard. That is a grid locator map. That's what that is. Okay. Can you go back one, Howard?
I can.
Okay.
I think I can. Hold on.
One more. Okay, grid locator. Okay. So the answer to that is A. Now, does anyone have any questions about the grid locator map? And again, most of this is mainly for HF and contesting. Okay. Okay, Howard. What type of transmission is indicated by the term NTSC? Okay. That is fast scan color analog fast scan color TV signal. Which of the following methods is used to locate sources of noise interference or jamming? Radio direction finding. Which of these items would be useful for a hidden transmitter hunt? Okay. B, directional antenna. Okay. All right. Using repeaters. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is take a little time with this and go over it in great detail, more so than what the book does, because this is stuff you're going to use every day when you get on the radio. Okay. Technicians commonly make contacts through repeaters, and a repeater is used to retransmit your signal at a greater distance. Okay. And to find repeaters in your area, you need a listing sorted by area, repeater book or the repeater directory. This is what this is. This is a repeater directory. This is put out every year by ARRL. See how thick this is. This is every repeater in North America. Okay. In all the bands. Okay, repeater book. Again, same thing, but those with smartphones, you can download free of charge repeater book. And what it will do, the satellite will find the location of your phone, and you can set it up different ways. And I'm not going to go into that, but repeaters within, say, 25, 50, 100-mile radius of your location, and give information about those repeaters. Okay, Howard. Okay, you can use the scanning function on your radio to listen for activity on repeater or simplex channels. I would recommend the only time you use the scanning function, which we do, is when on the memory channels, the one you've got in memory. Don't do the whole band and VFO. Just use what's in memory. Okay. To access a repeater, you will need to know these three things: repeaters transmit, output, input, and access to control tone. So we're going to do this one at a time. Okay. Again, hopefully everybody can see this.
Hold on.
Okay.
Talk.
You got it? Okay. Now, y'all will have to excuse my artistic talent. I have none. Okay. This is a mountain. This is a repeater. And again, what it does is to extend the range of your radio. Okay. All right. Say the repeater is 146,910. Okay. Now, repeaters have offsets, either a positive or negative. And depends on the frequency, is what it is. Repeaters 146 range have a minus offset, okay? And those offsets is 600 kilohertz or 0.6, okay? Now, the 146,910 is the repeater's output. So we'll say this is output 146,910 minus 600, okay? I do a little math on these sometimes, folks. Okay. To get the repeater's input frequency, which is coming in this way, you would subtract 600 hertz from the output, 146,910. So
Kilohertz.
therefore, the input frequency would be 146,310. So the input would be 146,310. Now, this will happen when you key the mic. Most of the brand name radios does this automatically. With the Baofengs, the older ones, you had to put this in. With the newer ones, it will put them in also. So basically, when you key the mic, it will send 146,310 into the input, into the repeater, and then it will automatically, and you've seen the graphics, earlier classes of repeater setups, it will transmit on this frequency, and this is what you hear. You will program your radio with the output frequency. That's what all repeaters are known by, their output frequency, not their input frequency. Okay. Now, is this clear as mud to everybody? Everybody understand this, I hope?
Works for
Okay.
me.
Okay. All right. Now, we're going to change up. This time, say you've got a repeater, the output frequency. Well, if I can get the lid off, stuck it on there too hard. It's a 147,105. Okay. 147 range is a positive offset. So basically, again, 0.600 kilohertz. So in this case, the input frequency will be 147,705. So going in, 147,705, and the output will be this. Okay, that's the input and output of a repeater frequency. Okay. Any questions? Okay. All right. Now, going into something different. Again. Okay. All right. Say you've got a repeater, 70 centimeter for the 440 band. Okay. All right. 442.500, let's say, is the input frequency. Okay. On the 70 centimeter band, it's 5 megahertz. Okay. And all of them around here, it's positive or minus, but all of them around here, and I've never run into one on the negative side. All of them that I've seen in my travels has always been positive. Okay. But so in this case, all right. I got that backwards. I'm sorry. Ignore that. 442,500. That's the output frequency. I got that backwards. We want the input frequency. Okay. So in this case, positive 5.000, again, 5 megahertz. So the input frequency would be 447.500. That's the difference between 2 meter and 440 or 70 centimeter. And 220 is totally different. And I'm not going to do that because I'll get you more confused than you already are. But that's the difference. Basically, 2 meter and 440 right now, till you get your license, is really what you need to be concerned about and on the tests and stuff. Everybody understand this? Do you have any questions? Now, if you do, speak up. Okay. All right. Now, repeaters also have access tones, which is a subaudible tone to turn on the repeater. Now, we'll go over that in just a few minutes. We'll run into that in just a second. I don't want to get you confused no more than you already are. Okay, Howard. Okay, repeater offset or shift. To listen to a repeater, tune its output frequency, which we just went over. Okay, and that's what you put in memory in your radio is the output frequency. To send a signal through the repeater, you must transmit on the repeater's input frequency. And again, most radios will do that for you. The only thing you have to do, well, no, that's on the PL tones. Basically, on this handheld, I don't know if you'll see it or not, but basically it does that. It sets it up. It'll come up plus or minus here on that, and it will automatically turn in the input frequency when you do that. Most new radios will do that for you. Okay, the difference between the repeater input output frequencies is called the repeater's offset or shift. For 2 meters, it's plus or minus 600 kilohertz. For 70 centimeters, it's plus or minus 5 megahertz. And like I say, on 70 centimeters, I do not know of any repeaters in the South that has a minus offset. They're all positive. Okay, link repeater systems and access tones. To extend your range, repeaters sometimes use remote receivers. The repeaters can be linked to other repeaters by sharing the signals each receives and retransmitting them. Now, here in our area in East Tennessee, there's 5 repeaters linked up there, and it covers, I don't know if any of you is familiar with East Tennessee, but it covers west of Knoxville in Crossville, Tennessee, all the way to Bristol, Kingsport, to the Virginia line. All these link repeaters, and when you transmit on one of the repeaters, it automatically transmits your signals through the other repeaters for a lot of coverage. That's basically how you can say it, a lot of coverage. And they do this, they have a net on these repeaters, and they usually get roughly 100 check-ins, counting all the linked repeaters. Most repeaters won't pass a signal from the receiver to the transmitter for retransmission unless it contains an access tone. Also called continuous tone coded squelch system, CTCSS, or PL tone, which means private line. But what that is a subaudible tone. When you hit the PTT button, it sends this out to tell that repeater to open up for your transmission. Now, the reason for PL tones, okay? All right, once again, I'm going to go use this right here.
Okay.
Say you got this frequency.
Hold on.
Okay. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. So you got this frequency, 146.910. All right. Say there's a repeater here that is on this frequency, and say, I don't know, 150 miles away or more, there's a repeater with the same frequency. Okay. All right. And the coverage of these repeaters overlap in this area here. Okay. All right. So what they do is put in the subaudible tone or PL tone of, say, 91.5. Say is there's a list of them. So it's I think there's 30. No, more than that. I forgot how many PL tones there are. 122. Anyway, and what happens is these are assigned this way. So this one says 91.5. Say this one is 123.0. Okay. So if you're here with a radio and where it overlaps, and you want to get into this repeater here with a 91.5, that's what you would program into your radio. Now, the radio does not do this automatically. You have to turn on the tone. And my gripe is they don't use a universal tone or whatever. Some of them squelch type, encode, tone, and various other things. You know, it depends on the radio. Okay, but you have to turn on the tone. Then you set your radio with this frequency. And when you do the transmit, it automatically sends this into the repeater to turn this repeater on. It will not turn on this repeater. Now, if you want to get into this repeater, you have to set up for this tone. Then when you hit it and it goes into this, sends out this tone, it will turn on this repeater, but won't turn on this repeater. That's a PL tone. And I know this is confusing. Believe me, I was confused about it at first too. And I was about ready to pull a little hair I had left out. But again, use your radio and find you an Elmer to help you out with this. And it'll come to you. Okay. It'll come to you. The more you use your radio, the more you get used to it. And this will come to you. So that's a PL tone. Now, not all repeaters have PL tones. There's several around here that do not have these. It's up to the, and I don't know outside of the southern United States. Here we have a SERA, Southeastern Repeater Association. If you decide you want a repeater, and yes, you want one with a tech license, you have to go through SERA, and if there's a repeater within a certain radius of where yours is going up on the same frequency, and they will assign you the frequency, they may have you put a PL tone on this. Mount Mitchell does not have a PL tone. Greenville, South Carolina does not have a PL tone. There's a repeater on Pisgah Mountain here that does not have a PL tone. Our club repeater does have a PL tone, and several others in the area does have it. Again, that information will be in the repeater directory, okay, in your area. So now, any questions on PL tones?
Randy, Mona had a question in the chat about who owns the repeaters. Are they private individuals?
Yes. A club can own one, a private individual can own one, and probably, I would say roughly 98% of the repeaters in the US are open. That means anyone can use them. There are a few that are club owned or privately owned that are closed repeaters. In other words, only their club members can use it, or if it's privately owned, only him and his buddies can use it. But yes, Mona, if you want to buy a repeater after you get your license, put one up, you can. But most repeater antennas, I will say, are either on TV towers, cell towers, or high-rise buildings. So you have to get them up fairly high.
Do you happen to know if there's one on Chambers Mountain?
Yes, there is. Matter of fact, I can get into it from here. And
Well,
it is, wait a minute, and I'll tell you, it is 147.390 with a PL tone of 94.8.
now you're
that
just
will-
showing off.
Yeah. Now that will be a plus offset, okay, positive, because it's 147. But yeah, I know the guy who owns it, Todd Robinson.
Thank
And
you.
when we have our Ham Fest in July, and I encourage y'all to come, that's the repeater we'll be using as a talk-in frequency for our Ham Fest, because it'll be in Waynesville.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we'll give you more information about that. Believe me, we will.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions about PL tones or input or output? I want you guys to understand this because, like I say, anytime you get on the radio, VHF or UHF, you will need to know this stuff.
However, if you know Randy, you can get him to program this stuff into your radio, and all you'll have to worry about is which memory you're using.
Well, yeah, and also what I normally
Isn't
do.
it nice of me to volunteer you?
No, that's all right. I don't mind. Keeps me off the streets and out of trouble.
Randy,
Now, what I normally do on all my radios, including my handhelds, when I program a radio, I put in an index card. Okay. I put in the frequency, PL tone, and where it's located. And that way, some of these I don't use all the time. And I forget. So that way I know what I'm on. Also, while we're on the subject of radios, most radios you buy will be from 134 to 178, 133 to 178. You can get radios with extended receive on it, which is from 118 to 174 something. And with the extended receive, like I have one right here that I've got the Asheville Airport, air to ground, ground to air programmed in. I listen to flights. I also have the Charlotte. I can't hear ground to air, but I can hear ground air to ground. And so you can extended receive and listen to public service bands on that too. Now, one word of caution about public service bands. What happened? Did I hit something?
No, I got my hand up.
No, I mean, my screen went blank.
It's on your end. We can see you
Okay.
and hear you.
Well, I don't know what's going on here. It just went to Zoom. Oh, well, I don't need to see y'all. Just let me know if you have a question. Well, maybe this is it right here.
But Bob, I think, has one.
I've got a
Yeah,
comment on your repeaters and your one zone with a 195 and your 123.
Yeah,
If you got two people in that zone where you're using those two PLs, if there's two people in that zone and they're both using 91.5 and 123 to talk to those two repeaters simultaneously, they'll get crosstalk.
yeah, you will. You can get crosstalk sometimes. Yes.
Yes, because both of them are up and both of them will be hearing both repeaters, and you can't isolate that
Yeah.
just because you got a PL.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll pick up both of them. Yeah, you sure will. That's one of the things you can't do anything about, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bob.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions about this? Okay. All right.
Give me a second.
All righty.
Okay, you're back up.
Okay. Let's see.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, I got it. Private line, we've done that. Okay, your radio's operating manual will explain how to select and activate the tone. There may be several tone options, which I said, such as tone squelch and digital tone code squelch. Now, the DCS system, I've never run into a repeater that uses that. All the repeaters I've ever run into uses tone or encode, ENC, or squelch type. The DCS or receive tone. There is a receive subaudible tone. I've never run into a repeater that has that on it either. All the ones 100% has just used the input subaudible tone.
Randy,
Okay. Yes, Harry.
where you would use that would be like, say, out at Camp Daniel Boone, where you had maybe 4 different radio channels, or you had 4 different groups of people that were using the same frequency because that was all the equipment they had. And you can set those DCS tones so that you only hear certain people, but you only have one frequency, and you're not using a repeater, so you don't have a PL tone. Now, I think also if you have a closed repeater, that may be the number that the repeater owner will mail you or call you on the phone, and that will let you open up his repeater. And then the other side is if you have the tone coming from him, you will only hear him, and anybody else that comes into that repeater, like if it's an open repeater, he could fix it up to where he would be the only one you heard by having your radio programmed to only hear that tone.
Yeah.
It's like I say, most repeaters don't have that, but that's what that can do.
But as far as what we're concerned with, don't worry about the DCS, just the one repeaters you use will have the PL or subaudible tone. Okay. Hang on just a second. Can y'all hear this?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, do you hear the Anderson net?
No. Not very well.
Okay.
Downtown Pendleton. No
There you
traffic,
go.
no comment.
Well, I'm going to show you how to do this.
That's good.
I have to wait till I get a time.
I got you.
Kilo Fox 4, Charlie Kilo Tango. John, I'm in Honey Bay. Good evening. Good evening to everybody on the net. I'll be short time.
Net control. What's wrong? Net control. Net control, please check in and out. KI4, VLW Randy in Asheville. That's the way you check into it. He didn't hear it. He didn't get to write it down. Kilo India 4, Victor Lima Whiskey.
Turn it up, Randy.
He's writing down my call sign. He said I had a good signal, strong signal. He just didn't. Okay. But anyway, what he'll do here in a few minutes is come back and acknowledge me here in a moment. But that's the way you check into a net. Now, you can either give their call, which I didn't do, or say net control. Either one is okay. I done net control because I didn't hear him when he gave his call. Please check in and out. That means I'm not staying in for a comment. If I want to stay in for a comment, please check in, then give him a call, and I'll be in for a comment. Then he'll come back to me later to make a comment. But I checked in and out. Please check in and out. KI4 VLW, Randy, and Asheville. That's all the information you need to give them. That's it. So anyway, that's the way you check into a net. See how easy it is, guys? I expect y'all to start doing that when you get your license. No questions asked. All right. Okay. Where were we at? Okay. Troubleshooting repeaters. If you can hear repeater signal, but it can't hear you, there's several things. Make sure you're using the right offset, plus or minus. Make sure you have your radio set up to use the right type of frequency of access tone, PL tone. Here they say CTCSS, so use that. And make sure your radio's digital code squelch settings are correct, DCS, like Harry said, okay? Now, check it in or checking a repeater. Okay, I'm going to show you what not to do. Then I'm going to show you what to do. Okay, say you programmed a repeater into your radio. You want to check and see if you can get into that repeater. Okay, this is what not to do. This is called kerchunking a repeater. Now, this stuff is not in your book, and it won't be on your test. This is just information, okay? Kerchunking a repeater is what you do is key the mic and don't say anything, but you will get back a signal. I don't know if y'all heard that or not, but I keyed the mic, got into the repeater, but didn't say a word. Nothing infuriates repeaters owners more than people kerchunking their repeater. Now, this is our club repeater, so that's why I done it. Just to show y'all not to do that. The correct way to check if you can get into a repeater while we're talking on repeaters is give your call sign. Okay. KI4 VLW testing 1 2 3 4 testing 1 2 3 4, and you'll get a signal back with the beep, and that means yes, for the most part, you're getting into the repeater. Now, a lot of distance repeaters, you may open the repeater, but you don't have enough power because it's too far away to carry your voice. So that's the correct way to check a repeater. Give your call sign, testing 1 2 3 4. Okay,
I
go
already
ahead.
wrote your name down, Randy, for Kachunkin.
Do what, Bob?
I already wrote your name down for Kachunkin.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Howard.
Okay.
More practice questions. Okay. All right. What does scanning function of an FM transceiver do? Okay. Tunes through a range of frequencies to check for activity. What is a common repeater frequency offset in the 2 meter band, which will be plus or minus 600 kilohertz? Okay. What is the common repeater frequency offset in the 70 centimeter band? It would be a plus or minus 5 megahertz. Okay. What is meant by repeater offset? That's the difference between the repeaters transmit and receive frequencies. Which of the following describes a linked repeater network? Okay, it'd be A, network of repeaters which signals received by one repeater are transmitted by all the repeaters within the network. What term describes the use of a subaudible tone transmitted along with normal voice audio to open the squelch of a repeater? And that would be D, CTCSS. Which of the following could be the reason you are unable to access a repeater whose output you can hear? Okay, improper offset, wrong CTCSS code, wrong DSCCS code, but it'd be D. All these choices are correct. Okay. Digital repeater systems. Okay. Ham radio and the internet can link repeaters and communicate nearly anywhere on Earth. Some of these systems include IRLP, which is the Internet Radio Linking Project. Okay. That is the oldest mode to do this. Now, on all these, the repeater you're getting into has to be hooked up to these systems, and the repeater you trying to get in contact with has to be linked up into this system. All repeaters are not linked into this system, okay? And then the other one is Echolink, Wires 2, D-Star, and DMR, which is digital mobile radio. As of now, the two most popular are Echolink and DMR. With Echolink, it is internet driven, and you can actually download and turn your cell phone into a radio. But again, you can only get into repeaters that are hooked up to the Echolink system. And again, not all repeaters are hooked up to that system. And digital mobile radio, DMR, you have to have a DMR radio for that. Regular radios, in other words, this handheld won't do DMR. You have to have a special radio for that. And DMR is becoming quite popular. And it is digital, and we went over that before in class about the sending two transmissions to different areas on the same frequency. That's DMR. You can do that with them. I do not do DMR, so I don't know that much about it. I wish Zach was here, but he's the one that does a lot of this. But Rick, do you do DMR?
No, I don't, Randy.
Okay. All right, Howard, go ahead. But, that's just another mode of communication. IRLP and Echolink uses voice over internet protocol. In other words, you have to have internet. The repeater has to be hooked up to the internet to do that, and you put in an access codes. Okay. And IRLP was the reason I got my general license. When I first got into ham radio, someone showed me how to use the IRLP link. And there's IRL repeaters worldwide. And I was using it and getting into Australia, Europe, South America. But when you do that, you have to be aware of the difference in the time zones. 4 o'clock in the afternoon when everybody's going home in Australia, the next day is like 2 o'clock in the morning here. Okay. And I'd be out using a handheld. Whoop. Repeater's IDing itself. I'd be out in the 2 o'clock in the morning in the driveway, handheld, getting into the 146.640 repeater IRL link, talking to Australia. So, yeah. But it was fun to do. But I thought, well, why rely on IRLP when I can get my general license and do this all the time on HF? So that was one of the reasons I got my general license. I got tired of going out there at 2 o'clock in the morning, going through the IRLP link. Is aggravating. Okay, Echolink uses voice over internet protocol to enable stations to transmit through an internet connected repeater without using radio to initiate transmission. Now, when you do sign up your cell phone for Echolink, you have to give them call sign and proof of license are required for them to do that. But yes, you can turn your 2-meter, your cell phone into a 2-meter Echolink radio. And several people here do that. Howard, didn't you do that?
No, never had.
Who? I know Bob Trapnell did, but there was somebody else I thought that did that. Okay. But remember, though, when you do stuff like this, you have to have dedicated repeaters. All right, go ahead. IRLP and Echolink contacts differ from regular repeater contacts. An estimating station must know the repeater control or access code to request an IRLP connection. A sequence DTMF or dual tone multi-frequency on your radio. Now, the DTMF is basically the keys here. Okay. That's dual tone multi-frequency. Okay. Wcars 2 uses voice only standard developed by radio manufacturer Yaesu. I think there's 1 or 2 repeaters in this area and a couple of guys do that, but it's really not that widely used. D-Star, again, a couple of guys here do D-Star and combines digital, voice, and data communications, but again, it's not used that much. DMR is technique for time multiplexing 2 digital voice signals on a single 1.12.5 kilohertz repeater channel. Digital codes are called color codes, are used to access a specific repeater, similar to CTCSS or PL access tones on an analog FM repeater. Okay. By programming your radio with these IDs and codes, you can join the chat group. Well, it's chat groups basically, and your audio will be shared with all other members of the group. Talk groups allow groups of users to share a channel at different times without being heard by other users on the channel. Data are contained in a code plug computer file. DMR is fairly big around here. There are dedicated several DMR repeaters in our area. And they have nets on these DMRs but basically, again, like I say, you have to have a dedicated DMR radio to do this. And I don't do this, but I believe, and I'm not sure about this, some manufacturers are coming out with radios now. It's a DMR radio, but you can also use analog, regular FM, UHF, VHF. But I'm not sure about that. I believe they're coming. If they haven't come out with it, they're going to. Okay, go ahead. You don't need different radios for each digital voice system. Hotspots are used that link your digital transceiver to the internet, and software in the hotspot makes the connection. Wcars 2, System Fusion, D-Star, DMR, P25, and NXDN all use talk groups in one form or another. To join a talk group, you'll need to know the group's ID code or number. You also have to enter your own ID code and call sign for D-Star into the transceiver so the system knows who you are. Again, I don't know this much about this system because I don't do it. But like I say, it's getting fairly well big, nationwide with the digital systems. And I believe it's starting to pick up, or if it hasn't, into Europe and other places too. Okay, Howard. Okay, nets. Howard, I still got a lot to do. Do you want to stop here? It's 10 till, and we'll pick it up next week on the nets.
We can do that.
We can do that. I figure it usually takes me two weeks to do everything because, I go over the repeaters and stuff like that in great detail. Does, again, anyone have any questions about anything tonight?
Are you familiar with Zello Radio?
With who? What radio?
Zello, Z-E-L-L-O.
No, I am not.
Okay, I just wondered if that had anything to do with this incredibly confusing digital radio stuff.
Well, to me, it is very, very confusing. That's why I just like to do voice communications.
You want to do a net? We got 10 minutes.
Yeah, we can. We can do a net. Let's do a net. Simulate a net. Okay. Let me get this out here. Let me get me a pen. I'll be net control. I'll play net controls. And we'll go over net controls and all that next week. But usually to start off a net, you have a preamble. And this is ours on our club. I'm not going over all of it. I'm just going to hit the high spots, believe me. Good evening. Welcome to the Western Carolina Amateur Radio Society Club Information Net. Net control operator tonight is KI4VLW, and my name is Randy. I'm located in East Asheville, and the club repeater is located 3 miles northwest of Asheville. And we encourage other hams in the area and you are otherwise to become regular check-ins. You do not have to be a member in order to check in, and all Wcars members extend a special invitation for you to become one. And any station with emergency traffic break in at any time by saying emergency, followed by your call sign, and the frequency will be relinquished to you. I will ask all check-ins to please give the club call sign. We'll use my call sign, not the club's call sign, KI4VLW. Unkey to make sure you're not doubling. Doubling is when two hams are talking at the same time and it's a jumbled mess. The one with the stronger station usually wins out. That's what doubling is. And rekey, give your call sign, name, location, and check in. So let's do it this way. All right. Anyone wishing to and Howard, you and Harry, Rick, and Benson, you too, and Bob, check in first. Okay. Now standing by for check in.
KI4VLW. This is Whiskey 4 Papa Hotel. Howard in South Bay.
KI4V. Please check in. Hello, Charlie 4. Echo, Zulu, November. KC4 Easy. Harry in Carolina. And I will be negative tonight.
Yeah, for VLW. Please check in. Yes, for FX. Bob. And Hardy. In and out.
Net control, please check in. Kilo Quebec 4, Hotel Lima Zulu, Benson and Marshall, North Carolina. Please check me in and out.
Rick must have stepped away. That's okay. All right. Now, what I done, I wrote down everybody. Okay. This is KI4VLW Net Control. Would like to acknowledge the following stations: W4PH Howard, KC4EZN Harry, KS4FX Bob, and KQ4HLZ Benson. Then what I do is any other check-ins, please call KI4VLW. Now, what we're going to do is, guys, we're going to let y'all check in. You don't have to use a call sign. Just say, please check in and give me your first name and where you're located. That's all you have to do. Let's keep it simple. This is the way you check in. Go ahead.
This is Joe, Washington, D.C. Please check me in and out. Joe, Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Please check me in. This is Mike from Dayton. Please check me in.
That's fine, Mike.
This is Dave from April, in and out.
Okay, we had a double that time. So, Jim, you go first.
This is Jim from Dayton. Please check me in and out. Over.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Mr. Silvera.
Dave from Haverhill, check me in and out.
Okay, Dave. Okay.
David from Greenwood, please check me in and out.
Now, see, guys, how simple that is. Come on, Annie, check us in. Come on, do it. Come on, do it. Go on. Just go ahead. Oh, come on. Mona?
This is Mona from Balsam. Please check me in and out.
See, go ahead, Annie. You got to do it sometime. You might as well. Hey.
Not ready.
Okay.
I love you guys. You guys are awesome.
You know, it's once you get to doing it, you know, it's at the first time I ever checked into a net, I scared to death. I'll admit it. I was nervous as a cat full of rocking chairs. I was. First time I ever called a net. Oh, I was nervous. But Once you start doing it, you'll get used to it and it'll come naturally. Okay. Yes, you will be nervous. Yes, well, what am I going to say? I don't know. I'm scared. You know, it's human nature. Don't worry about it. But see, that's the way you do it, guys. You know.
Annie has always known what to say, and Annie is not shy.
But,
Just now.
but, the only thing you didn't do was give your call sign because you don't have one, but that's the way you check in. You give your call sign, so-and-so from here, check me in or out, or I'll stay in for a comment or whatever. It's that simple, guys. It is. It is. Once you do it a few times, it'll be great. Trust me. And then what I would do, say, well, if somebody wanted to stay in for a comment like Howard, I go up, W4PH, please call KI4VLW or net control. Go ahead, Howard, make your comments.
Tell them about Harry talking about bamboo.
I have a good afternoon. Been working on my taxes all day and probably get to it again when we get through here. So I hope everyone else is having a good time on the net, and back to you. This is Whiskey 4 Papa Hotel. Clear.
Then what I would do as net control, since net control is in charge of the net, I make sure the traffic or the comments or whatever flows smoothly, and we'll go over this next week. I go back to Howard, W4PH, KI4VLW. Howard, thank you for checking in. Hope the IRS doesn't arrest you. You get your taxes done on time. Thank you for the, checking in with us. And then I go to the next one. So that's
Recheck.
Yes, a recheck is when somebody maybe checked in or out or wants to say something else. Okay, KC4EZN, KI4VLW, go ahead.
KI4VLW, KC4EZN. Put me in for a comment, Randy.
All right, go ahead. You're up.
KI4VLW, KC4EZN. Doing a good job on the net tonight, Randy. This is a really good crowd of people, even if Annie doesn't want to talk to us. We'll get her out. Had a good time today. Went down to the Raleigh Ham Fest and got one radio that was a winner and one radio that's going to need some attention. Not sure what that is yet, but had fun and mowed the grass today. And I think that's going to be a weekly occurrence from now on. And if Rick's still listening, I've almost got enough rhubarb to make a pie.
Ooh.
So we're working on that. Turn it back to you, Randy. KI4VLW, KC4EZN.
Okay, KC4EZN, KI4VLW. Thank you for checking in. Take care and enjoy the rhubarb pie. Are there any additional check-ins? Please call KI4VLW.
KI4VLW, this is Kilo Whiskey 4 Mike, Quebec. I tried to get you guys over the radio, but I wasn't getting into the repeater for some reason, and I don't know why. But I did hear Randy's Harry's comment about the rhubarb. So yeah, I'll be listening for that. This is Kilo Whiskey 4 Mike, Quebec, and I'm out.
Okay. KW4MQ, KI4VLW. Rick, thank you for checking into the net. Are there any additional check-ins? Please call KI4VLW. Okay, they probably won't be, but so what we'll do is close the net, okay? And closing the net, I appreciate all check-ins. And hopefully you'll be faithful to check in each week. And I had a total number of 14 check-ins. At this time, I will return the repeater to normal amateur use. That's a net, guys. See how easy and simple it is? Nothing to be worried about, except the first time you ever do it. You definitely will be scared to death. But, you know how to do it. So now, when you actually do it, you'll be a little bit more comfortable. Because, this is one of the things we do extra, is just show you how to do that. And I can't encourage enough, once you get your license in the radio, to use that radio and check in and get on the net. Now, are there any questions on what I've went over tonight? Does everybody understand everything? Yes.
I'm going to say you're awfully brave for chunking that repeater with Bob listening.
I got it for chunking the radio repeater.
yeah. I told him, I said, it's not what to do. It's chunk this thing. Yeah. Bob is our repeater trustee. He's in charge of it. So if he knew I was chunking it for real, not teaching the class, he'd call me. Believe me, he'd call me. What are you doing? You're chunking that repeater. But as you can see, we aggravate each other and we all get along. That's one good thing about this. Like I told you earlier, you will make friends. You really will. And you'll make a lot of good friends, which all of us here have done. We have. Okay, any other questions?
You were the only one that didn't check into the net too, Randy.
Well, I checked into the Anderson 2-meter net earlier. Besides, I had net control. So, well, guys, that's about it for tonight. I will see y'all next week. And if you have, during the week, while you're studying and stuff, if you have any questions, please write them down and let me know next week. And, and by the way, if any of you went ahead and bought a radio, download the repeater book on your cell phone and punch in some repeaters and listen. Your license is for the transmit. You can buy a radio and listen all you want to. That's fine and dandy. That is not an issue.
I do have Echolink on my smartphone.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah, never used it.
Well, I do know Bob Trapnell uses his, so
Yeah.
but I don't either.
I've got Echolink on my phone, but I've never talked on it. It's got a text message function, and when I'm in California, I'll check in that way. I can hear them.
Yeah.
But I think to get Echolink on your phone, you got to, I don't know if I forgot now whether I had to send them a copy of my license or what, but you got to verify that you are a licensed ham in order to do that.
Yeah. And speaking of license, while we're here discussing, that's what it looks like, guys, right there. Okay. And the FCC does not send this out anymore. What you have to do is once you are in the FCC database, you'll need to go in there and print that off. And you'll get two sections. You'll get a section under here for that goes in your wallet. And I do encourage you to laminate everything and cut this off and put it in your wallet. And this one stays next to my base station here. So that's right there. But that is the license. That's a piece of paper that allows me to transmit on the ham bands. That's basically what that is.
And then basically that piece of paper is both your station license and your operator license.
Yep. So, well, Howard, it's 9:05.
Thank you, everybody. You have a great night.
Okay, we'll see you guys next Wednesday, and I'll finish up next Wednesday. And everybody take care and stay out of trouble, stay out of jail. I'll try to do the same, but I'm not making any promises.
Quit putting restrictions on us.
Yeah, that's right. Bye, y'all.
All right, thanks, fellas. Thanks, Randy.
All right.
Thank you all.
You got to stay out of jail 1 week so you can teach next week.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
7-3.
73s, y'all. Have a good evening.
All right. Everybody take care.
Good night, thank you. Good night, thank you.
What does my phone do to those relationships? Because they're watching.